Your story
incredible.
is so faith-filled. You know, when you look at the
too.
seasons of your parenting from your little kids, and now they're all adults. You have all four adult children. So that's a new, not really new. It's been for a couple of years, but that's a new stage of your life. But thinking back to how the Lord has done so many things in your life, what would you say was something that when God did the impossible, like God just really just
Okay,
sat there and
how
things.
many?
I know, right?
How many minutes? Is
How many
your
minutes?
Just start with one, and then
Start
we'll
with
go to
one,
the
yeah,
next.
right.
Well,
Which I do have one in mind, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm kind of leading you into that question and
we're
things.
serving
Yes.
up
So, yeah, I know.
specific, but
So
there
I-
are many. So.
yeah, there are many.
Welcome to the Well Grounded Podcast. We are so excited to have you join us again for our Sisterhood of Motherhood. This is our season 2. We are in a new episode, and we are just excited to just launch into our discussion. We're going to have just some great things that we share with you. We have a wonderful guest speaker. We're going to not share who that is right yet. We're
Gotta
just going to
wait.
leave that, but
Gotta
we're
wait.
just discussing some really great topics and some ideas that we are sure is going to encourage you. So,
We forgot to intro.
oh yes, I'm Diane,
And I am Leanne.
and we are two lifelong
We
friends
know who we are.
that enjoy coffee and conversations.
Yes.
And we are just here to encourage you in the Lord as well.
That's right.
And before we get started, we are going to have our latte moment. We are excited. Today is actually a latte tea. No, it's not actually a latte tea, but it's called a hibiscus tea.
Oh, I love these teas.
Yes, we are something very springy. We're in the month of April. We're excited that it's something
Oh, yum.
fruity and fresh. You can do this iced or hot. I have made it hot today,
Yum.
but you can do it also iced. And the recipe is going to be in our show notes. Nothing complicated. Like it's with a tea bag
Okay.
that I bought at
Hey,
the store.
we
tea
could
bag.
do brand recommendations for these
Yes.
teas. That's it.
But you can actually make this from scratch if you wanted to,
Okay.
like boiling hibiscus leaves and doing the whole thing. And so, as we all know, I'm usually
gonna-
into the
I
shortcuts.
was gonna say.
I got the tea bag, and you add a little bit of sweetener. You can also add lime juice. You can also add fresh fruit. So, like I said, very fruity, very springy. And so we thought it'd be a great way to kick off the spring season.
You did cut up fruit and put it in
I
here?
did. Yeah, it's
That's-
all in there.
that's
So,
homemade.
cheers. Clink, clink.
Awesome. It's
All
really
right.
good. It's really tasty. I'm really into the fruity teas right
Yes.
now. They're just really helping get
Yeah.
through the winter into the spring now.
Yes.
So we're excited.
Very good.
We are continuing our conversation
Yes.
on in all things motherhood.
Yes.
All things like one of the things we've been talking about and noticing, these guests do not know each other. They
Yes.
do not, but
Yeah.
we keep seeing these same themes
things.
coming up, and it's the faithfulness of God
Yeah.
to moms, to in these friendships and families, and
To each other, to their kids. How their
Yes.
kids have grown, whether it's been one of our speakers that our guests that have had the little kids to the
Right.
ones that have had the older kids that, last time we talked about mentorship, and that was just such a
Yes.
gifted conversation.
Yes.
And, I hope that encouraged our listeners.
Oh, yes.
And that they've also, thought about how they can, think about mentorship and put that into their lives.
And I really do listen to the episodes
Yeah.
like multiple times, not just to critique us or anything, but just to make sure that I'm getting all that. And I really saw this theme kind of running through in our episodes this time with the faithfulness of God. And
Yes.
and you said like littles, older kids, and I just really felt convicted to pray after the mentorship one, to really be praying for people that they would have courage. They would have courage. And
to step out and things.
and
Yeah.
I really feel like today's guest, this episode's guest, is actually going to spur that on in some people too.
I
Some
think so, too.
courage, some building faith.
Yeah.
So let's not waste any more time.
Yes. So
Introduce.
we want to introduce you to our good friend, Melba Rivera. And Melba is joining us today, and she has such an amazing story about just multi-generational, multicultural. She has so many beautiful things in her family and her story. And so we are just going to turn it over to you and have you introduce yourself and say hello to everybody out there.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It's an honor. My name is Melba Rubera, like she said. I'm a mom of 4, a wife of 28 years.
Yes.
We were counting today, it's 33 altogether. So
That's what
I've been with
Yeah.
him more than I've been without him.
There
I
you
love
go.
that.
There
I
you
love
go.
that.
Well, I am a servant. I love to serve. I love to mentor, believe it or not, even though I don't look that old.
We learned in our last episode, mentoring is for
all
any
ages.
ages, any age, any stage.
Yes.
Busted you on that one. Sorry,
Yeah,
go
right.
ahead.
I run my own business for over 22 years. I've been doing, and I think that's been a blessing and an extension of a
absolutely.
ministry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I get to minister to the people that are buying their new home. A lot of times there are people that were
Yeah.
turned down. So I feel like it's part of a ministry. So I feel blessed to be
yeah.
in that. I'm a grandma of an 11-month-old baby that is going to be 1 on Monday. What else?
11 months. That's so
Yes.
fun.
Gonna be 1. Well, it's Monday night for her because she's away.
Yes, you
6
can-
hours back, but it's on Tuesday for us. So
I
Tell
was going
us-
to say, you can even share about that.
I was going to say, tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
your darling little grand girl. So
she's the best thing. I prayed for her for so long. I cannot even believe that. Yeah. So all my sister, cousins, everybody, they were already grandma, and I was waiting for this one, but she's the joy of my life.
And where is she? Like, tell us about what unique life she has with her
Yes.
mom
Well,
and dad.
my daughter decided that they were going to travel the world. She's actually a children minister. She went right into ministry from college to the ministry, so she couldn't have her youth, her normal. So she decided when she was going to get married, they were going to go do a little bucket list 3 months honeymoon, and it's been 4 years.
4 years.
And they're still traveling all
really
around.
great honeymoon.
So yeah, and
And they literally have traveled the world. Like
yes,
the
they have
entire
been.
globe.
They have
gone.
been. You name it, from South America to Israel.
Yeah.
And the beauty is that being a children minister, they use a lot of biblical. And I remember like when she was in the mountain with the she was literally standing in there. She brought that verse when there was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like she was like, here's where these 3 guys were here.
Yes,
She
yeah.
used the verse, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
we do need to link. So your daughter is a travel vlogger, right?
Yes.
By accident.
Okay. Okay. I'm saying when you're saying that
Oh, by
she's
the Lord.
sharing, she
Yes.
actually you can like
Yes.
follow along
Yes.
and see
Yes,
where they
yes,
are
yes,
and stuff.
yes,
So
yes.
we need to link that in
That'll
the show
be
notes
fun.
too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
her just for fun for some.
And
for
she
those-
followed you guys too because I told her what was gonna be, and she was like,
Yes.
"I can't wait!
that's
My
fun.
mom is gonna
Yes.
be there."
Oh yes,
I love it.
know.
I love it.
We've had quite a few moms
Yeah.
on the show that their children and grandchildren are like, "This is perfect. I didn't even know you had podcasting in
Yes.
you." So that's great.
However, it sounds all exciting, but in this side, she's so far. She's 20 hours on a flight, and so yeah. But they make the commitment. They call me every week through FaceTime. They say, you have that, and
Yeah.
she's already starting to learn and saying words. And as soon as she sees me, you can see she's like waiting for who's gonna come up in the other side.
Yeah.
And then when she sees me, she slides up.
Oh, that's nice. That's
The
great.
best FaceTime
Yeah.
ever is the
Yeah.
grandma one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You see me screaming across the house, "Hey, Jasmine!"
Did she
Yes.
have a cute nickname for you, or the nickname they're
Well,
giving you?
I want her to call me Abuelita. Abuelita, because my mom is abuela.
Okay,
And then since Max is Italian, she's gonna be calling Max's mom Nona.
Okay.
So I wanted it when my grandkid says abuelita, it's me. It's
Yes.
not gonna be somebody else.
Right,
Somebody
right.
They're not gonna call
Another
me
name.
grandma
Yeah,
or Nona.
yeah.
So
You
yes.
want your
That's good.
own name. I get you. No, that's
good.
great. That's great.
Well, share
Awesome.
a little bit of story about how you and Max met and how your blended family and just all the different things that God has just put you together. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing tapestry. Really.
Well, I gotta tell you that I believe that in Romans 8:28, God will turn all things for good for those who love Him, and I actually was going through a really tough time, separation, and my oldest son Elvin had 10 surgeries before he turned 1. I'm getting divorced. I'm expecting my second child. And it was all that kind of like, what else can happen to me?
Yeah.
And I remember saying, I'm always being very old-fashioned. okay, if I get divorced, I'm going back with my mom.
Yeah.
So I moved with my parents, and sure enough, the Lord moved Max right next door.
Oh,
And we
that's
became
so fun.
friends.
Next door to your parents,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. So you move back home and
So,
he's there.
yeah,
Okay,
so,
that's pretty
and-
good delivery.
Yes.
A delivery.
it was
the Lord
like, and I
delivering.
knew if God didn't do that, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Wow.
I mean, married to him,
Right.
because
Sure.
I was going through so much that I was turning off.
Right.
But that's when the light at the end of the tunnel. God's always like perfect. I always say he's a gentleman. He's never too late or too early.
Yeah.
He's just right on time. And Matt came next door. He became my friend. So he heard me going through the struggles with Elvin, going to surgeries and all that. And I will come out and just play with the kids in the front. He's riding the bicycle, and he will be my friend. So he became my friend before I even looked at him as a possibility.
Yeah.
So that was a beautiful thing.
love
And I
it.
think it was God sent. I always said, never underestimate God's power to turn things
Yeah.
all around. And then you're
All
like,
around. Yeah. I love it.
yeah.
Well, that's one of my favorite verses, so I love that verse a lot.
Oh,
so
really?
that's
I
really
know. Okay.
encouraging.
I know. That's a good one.
And I know now, how long did you guys were you together before you got married? I
So
can't
we
remember.
dated for almost 5 years.
Okay.
So I was 24 again with two babies. Pretty much by the time I met him, Kathy was already born, and then he was 19.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of like, I
Yeah.
never even thought about us until
Yeah.
one day that he looked at me and he said something. He said, "Baby," and I'm like, "Wait a minute."
Wait a minute.
That's a good line. Jump right to it.
But he
love
didn't
it.
look 19.
Yeah.
He has always been very mature. So, and I remember I was old fashioned again. So, I mean, you got to go out with me. You got to go through like the whole, my father's here. My father was a military. So you
Oh,
imagine.
yeah.
So we dated for about 4.5 years before we got married. Yes.
Love it. Love it. I love that. You've got that foundation really solid.
Yes.
Did you already, I don't know if Diane kind of hinted at this yet, but one of the things that we wanted you, while you're talking about marriage and all of that, we know you have been a really big advocate for strong marriages.
Yeah.
And tell us a few things that you've done over the years to build your own marriage or how you've encouraged that in other people. Like
Yeah.
what are some really specific things?
So again, being a second time around, you want to make sure that you do things. It's like when you're going to do something, you already know you fail, you're kind of going to do your homework. Like, let me see what I got to do so I don't step on it. Yeah. So I always been an advocate to kind of finding. And I remember even when we got married and how Ross coached, in that coaching moment before. And he said, always remember the height, that first kiss, the first moment. And that was always something that I kept to remember, bringing back. So it happened that God put us in a situation where we were around other couples and somebody said something different. And I was just like, wait a minute, I can tell you something I learned.
Yeah.
And I share that. And then ever after that, we actually started a page on Facebook that I realized the other day is almost 15 years old.
Oh,
and it's
wow.
called Building Strong Marriages.
Oh, nice.
So every time
Facebook
there
group.
was, yes. So, and I started
precious.
it because it was just a group. We used to have a Bible study.
Yeah.
If there was a weekend to remember, we were there. If we were, so, and then one time, and you don't know this, it was
gonna be a tell-all.
It was after a long, hard month or something like that. I think it was when the market crashed in my business and all that good stuff. And we were going through a rough time, and somebody in our church knew about it and handed me an invitation to a weekend at
The wind
Wind
shape
Shape. It
marriage.
was actually
Yeah.
hosted by Tim and Diane.
Yes.
I'm getting emotional now, Diane. And I remember, growing kids, it's just
always
kids,
busy.
kids.
Yeah.
I remember I remember until this day, sitting on that bench in that one morning and it just feeling like, wow, no kids, just the two of us. And it was around our 15th anniversary.
Oh, nice.
So, and I remember ever since knowing this is something that can help you just rekindle and going
Yeah.
back to it. So I became kind of like and now that I think about it, that's why that group is about that time.
Yeah.
Because
Wow, that's
It
true.
that's when I
That's
say, you
true.
know what, this is something more people need to experience.
Yeah.
And you don't know this, but I ended up bringing 55 couples all together to that retreat. And I have amazing notes from people saying, thank you, this is what my
Yeah.
marriage needed today. And now they continue to go. Like, I'm even jealous the other day, they went without me. And I'm like,
You started it, but they're
Yeah.
still going. I
So
love
for
that.
those of you who don't know what Wind Shaped Marriage is, it's a marriage
I don't
retreat
think
up
I
in Rome, Georgia,
Georgia,
at
yes.
Berry College, and it is facilitated through the Wind Shaped Foundation, and it just has an incredible, you just messaging. It is in a very, I wouldn't say secluded, but just very quiet,
Beautiful.
peaceful mountain environment. You know, the weather there is always delightful.
Yes.
And so that they have marriage retreats continuously through the year, so you can always go online. We can
Yeah.
even put that link in
You
the
don't,
in the
do you
show
have to
notes
go in
and
a
things.
group,
And I
or can
highly-
you just sign up and
I
go?
think you can
Okay.
sign up and get plugged into
Individually, but it's
another
a lot
group.
more fun when you go in
It
groups,
is,
Go with
yeah.
your friends.
Because
Yeah.
kind of you help each other. I believe that marriage is a choice.
Yeah.
It's not, it's like, oh, I'm going to love you for the rest of life and this is the perfect, no. You
Yeah.
have to make a decision every day to make it better, to work
Yeah.
at it. And I think that investment of time is just valuable, and I recommend it for anyone. And they have from struggling couples to
Seasoned
even
couples.
premarital.
Yeah, premarital.
So
Mhm.
I highly recommend
Yeah.
it. So that kind of stirred up that in me. And then I remember the movie Fireproof.
Yeah.
And then there was a Bible study, and then I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, let's do this as a Bible study.
Yeah.
But a lot of time, and that's the beauty of serving.
Sure.
When you're serving, you think other people think, oh, you're doing this for me. Sometimes I feel I was doing that, and I was just myself was being renewed.
Yeah.
Right? And that's
Right.
the beauty of that.
And
So I
that's
did
it.
that.
That's
right.
Actually, I did that like 2 or 3 times with 3 different groups.
Oh,
the
that's
Recounter
nice.
and the Romance.
Yeah,
So
that was very popular. I remember
the
that.
Fireproof.
Yeah.
Well-
And I was going to say, just to touch on, the multicultural piece to your marriage is just very dynamic. And I think it encourages people in their, walk and things. So share a little bit about that, because it's
What's your background
yeah,
and what's
your
Max's
background and Max's background and how
Well,
that's always, been a part of your lives.
I am from Dominican Republic, right in the center of the Ecuador line. I mean, heat, passion, loud. And then I married this Italian guy. And they use the hands.
So
and
not
then-
usually really calm and boring.
No.
No. And then I mentioned my first son having all the surgery. He's deaf. So we actually have
It's hearing
Yes,
impaired.
Yeah,
That's
he's
right.
hearing impaired, and so we have all those cultures. And we're in the United States, so we have actually 4 cultures happening in our
yeah.
house.
Okay,
4 languages:
so
4
you have
languages.
Spanish, Italian, Sign Language, and English.
Yeah.
ASL, American Sign Language. Yep,
Yeah.
ASL. Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So it has always been in. You say how to deal with that. So it's always finding that balance and always doing your research, like I just said.
Yeah, I
I
love that.
remember kind of trying to read different culture, because even in the deaf community,
Yeah.
there's things that they would take you like kind of like. Or they're blunt, like they would say, "That my fat friend." For them, that's normal. Well, don't say that. 'Cause,
Yeah.
So trying to learn that, especially
Sure.
because I want to make sure that our kids will celebrate the beauty of each of those cultures.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of kind of that, and then the Lord put me in a time in my life where actually I was in Girl Scouts, and I was kind of having to
yeah.
deal with that multicultural. And I remember hitting a point where the membership for Hispanic went from like right here, it went like and it was like I almost broke the
The
meter.
needle.
You were
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
that was your profession at that time,
Yeah,
right?
well, yes,
Yeah,
you were
so
working
you
with
were
them.
working with them
Yes.
and creating. Was it a curriculum? Or
Yeah, so
like
my job was to spread the germs. I always say, even in Christianity, I say, I love to spread the germs of Jesus. Everybody.
Germs of Jesus. That's awesome.
So I felt
contagious, I
like,
guess,
yes, they first
funny.
hired me. It was just to be a program facilitator. So my
Okay.
job
Yeah.
was just
So
to
the
go
program. Got
with
it.
the Spanish girls because people couldn't understand in English. And my passion, as always, with everything that I do, it was kind of, did you know about Girl Scout? Did you know about Girl Scout? And the next thing, we have like double the membership.
Yeah.
So then they say,
Your
oh, you need to
recruitment
go.
numbers.
No, yeah. And then they say, oh, you need to be a membership manager. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
I was just telling about something I liked.
Yeah,
I love it.
so
I
it
love
was really a fun time, but I learned a lot about culture. So I remember at the beginning, before they moved into membership, I was doing the STEM and robotics manager, and I had to bring all these big telescopes and all that stuff to the campground, and I mean, I'm only 5'2", and those are huge pieces. So I remember telling Max to come and help me with all this equipment because we were hosting 50 girls,
Yeah.
And I remember the ranger saying, well, you're not supposed to bring guys here, and I had my husband all background and doing all that stuff. So I remember he even kind of making a comment on this is not acceptable, and he went all the way to CEO.
Wow.
And I remember saying to her, well, listen, if you really want to reach my people, my
Sure.
Hispanic people, if you don't welcome dad, you don't welcome grandma,
Yeah.
ain't gonna happen.
It's a family.
Yeah,
It's a family
in the
thing.
Hispanic community,
Yeah.
it's a package deal.
Yeah.
It's like
Very
give me
much.
the combo.
Very much. Yeah.
So, and that's why I think.
Well, and like you said, all the things that you've done through your life is such a servanthood, and those serving things have turned into jobs that have turned into blessings that have turned into so many ways that ministries,
Yes.
and so it's really neat to walk that down with you.
Yeah.
But I feel like all along I was being blessed. Like it was
Sure.
just kind of in every stage. Even when I was in Girl
Yeah.
Scout, I had the most amazing memories with Rosangela because she was growing up with me. We went behind the scene at Disney and learned about engineering.
Yeah.
One of the programs that I created was actually behind the scene at Disney with the first woman that ever launched a rocket into the space. I mean, who has that opportunity? So I feel like
Yeah.
I was being blessed. It wasn't a job. Why do you have to write me a paycheck?
Sure. That's wonderful. Yeah.
That's such a, I mean, I hear that so much from people that are
Yeah.
living and working in their passion in
Yeah.
their area, that they really just kept pursuing things that were interesting to them.
Yeah.
And it turned into careers. It turned into, something that was contagious for
Yeah.
other people and to be able to teach others. So
Your
that's
story
incredible.
is so faith filled. When you look at the seasons of your parenting from your little kids, and now they're all adults. You have all 4 adult children, so that's a new, not really new. It's been for a couple of years, but that's a new stage of your life. But thinking back to how the Lord has done so many things in your life, what would you say was something that when God did the impossible, like God just really just sat there and
how
thinks,
many?
I know, right?
How many minutes?
How many minutes?
Just start with one and then
Start
we'll
with
go to the
one,
next one.
right?
Well,
Which I do have one in mind, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm kind of leading you into that question and
we're
things.
serving
Yes.
up
So, yeah, I know.
specific. But
So
there
I-
are many. So,
Yeah, there are many,
know.
but I can quickly say, well, my oldest son, Elvin, was born and had 10 surgery before he turned 1.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up losing the vision on the eye, so he literally lost the eye itself. He
Wow.
has just a prosthetic in there.
Yeah.
That right there was a challenge.
Oh.
And that's your first.
And that's
He
my
had
first.
hearing
and then he ended up losing the vision.
and
Wow.
an eye
Yeah.
lost. Wow.
So it was on my 3rd month, I had a fever, and that's when the eyes, hearts, and the ears are being developed. So a miracle right there.
Yeah.
His eye and his ear were affected, but his heart is bigger than mine.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
right there, he just got married in November.
he
So
did.
I'm waiting to become a grandma again. So
Doing your work,
yes,
your prayer
yes.
work.
yeah, you help me.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna go down the list.
go
because
through
Angela
it.
was born without a stomach.
Mm.
She literally was born without a stomach, and she needed a special surgery to reestablish that.
Yeah.
We were feeding her through a G tube for. It was supposed to be a year, but again, the Lord showed up, and actually, she only had it for like 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
And now she's better than me and you together.
Yeah.
And she's amazing. So then Massimo, which is I think the biggest kind of like shocking,
Sure.
and probably the one that you were thinking.
Yeah.
At the age of 1 year and 3 months, got burned. He actually put a pot of hot oil that was in the stove, and literally just hot oil on his face. I mean,
Chest.
And he
even
was a
had.
toddler. He was how old?
He was 1 year and 3 months.
1 year
Yeah.
and 3 months. So he's
And
a little
in my
toddler.
face, it's like you want to stop it, but you can.
Yeah.
Oh, you were there.
Yeah, we
Yes.
were
So
all there.
Slow
yeah.
down and tell us that story because
but
I
tell
do
that
want us to
story?
make
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, so I remember we had a church. We had a ladies group that we exercise every Thursday, and I was getting the kids dinner before we went there. And my kids didn't want what I cooked that day, and they
Normal.
love rice with fried eggs. So my oldest daughter said, "Mommy, can I have eggs instead?" I'm like, "Okay." So I fried their eggs, and Massimo was on the other side of the living room. My 3 older ones are in the counter in the kitchen. When I finished, putting the eggs in there, I turned around to the sink to wash my hands. Massimo come running from the window and saw the smoke of the hot oil. As in my back is the stove, and he went to grab it. And I remember my kids saying, "Mommy, Mommy," and I'm turning, but it was
In a
just
split second.
fast.
in a
Just-
split
yeah,
second.
Yeah.
He threw the whole thing over him.
my
I mean,
gosh.
to the point where his tongue got burned but his eyes did not.
Wow.
And if you see him today, he has no scarf.
Yeah.
So, but I remember that a few weeks before, being at a small group at church, and Charlie Collins was my teacher, and he was talking about all these miracles that God performed. And I said, why God doesn't perform miracles this day? Why only in the Bible time? And then boom, here we go.
Yeah.
We are sitting in the waiting room that night, about 50 people from our church, they are praying with us, and the doctors are saying, we're going to have to take him to Cincinnati for the burning hospital there. We don't think we can handle this here. It's the moment where you just say, what happened? So I remember leaving that night with Max, packing our luggage, because in the morning we were going to have to go to Cincinnati. When we come in the morning, the doctor said, well, I don't know what happened here overnight, but we don't need to go to Cincinnati anymore.
Wow.
There's been an improved
God
miracle.
is so good.
They don't call it
Yeah.
like that, right? But an improved on Massimo skin that I think we can do skin draft here.
Wow.
And to make it short, because I know you guys are
No,
on time.
we're
Oh,
not
you're good.
rushing.
You're good. Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
there. He was in intensive unit for 2 days. Then he went to down to the another level, and then 7 days after he was sent home.
Oh, wow.
We have other kids that got burned with coffee in the legs that were there
Yeah.
for 2 weeks. So I remember us going back for the
Sure.
treatment
Yeah.
and still seeing the kids in
Kids
there.
there.
So
other
it
kids
was
in the burn
something.
unit. And
Yeah.
I think what I've heard too is he had to be airlifted, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
From
yeah. So
after the
Yeah.
incident.
so
when
when,
the
when we
incident
were at home,
happened.
yeah.
So
when
going from something where you just it looks like the worst
Yeah.
case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The doctors are saying they can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's airlifted and
Yeah.
then having basically an overnight
Yeah.
drastic improvement.
Yeah. And I love that.
and you have to
know,
look up and say,
Yeah.
you're amazing.
The power of
Oh,
prayer
yes.
and all of that, all the people that came to help and
Yes,
just encourage
yes.
and everything. That was
And then
amazing.
hearing my team from this small group saying, God gave you a miracle.
Yeah.
was your
And I was just
miracle.
like, he sure did.
He sure did.
Whoa.
Wow. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So
I know.
a lot of miracles. And I mean,
Yeah.
those, like you said, you have multiple things and things, but that really to me is so impactful, because it just, just like you even said with your small group talking about like, sometimes we don't recognize how God is still doing those great big miracles out there because there's a lot of noise around us. There's a lot
Yeah.
of
That's good.
congestion. There's things going on that are just kind of clouding our sight from those. And I really believe that that's sometimes we do have to stop and even acknowledge that when it happens.
And you know what I say about that? When God gives you a testimony, it's for you to testify.
Yeah.
So when God gives you something, it's not for you to keep it.
Yeah.
It's for you to go and tell others about it.
Yeah.
So
And you do a
because
good job
You
with
live
that.
that. Yes,
Yeah,
you
do
do.
a good job
You
with
live that. And even just in that moment to immediately, like, I know there's no man, there's no doctor, there's no anything that could have snapped and fixed that. Like they were setting your expectations really low that this was going to be a long journey. And
Yeah.
yet God was,
But it was so miracle, that they asked us if they could use his pictures at their burn unit at the hospital.
Wow.
And I remember going back because, it was a screen draft. I mean, it wasn't like he went home, but he was in
Yeah,
completely well.
yeah.
So, and seeing the pictures there and say, you know what? They have to accept that there was something more powerful than medicine
right.
itself
Yeah.
that happened here. So,
right. This doesn't happen overnight. This
No,
doesn't happen
so-
this fast.
Well, and the things too, we've been in the season of sisterhood of motherhood. We've had lots of guests on that have been, ranging from new moms to seasoned moms, to just moms that have
Adoptive,
adoptive,
fostering.
all
We
those
started
things.
off with-
And is there something that we've asked our guests this, but is there something that you would tell your younger self, like as a mom, something that you would tell your younger self so that you can encourage other moms about that? Because I think you have lived a wonderful life and you have adult children, and so what's an encouragement that you could really share?
I will say, never think that you are alone. First, God is with you. There's now with technology these days, there's so many, like
Yeah.
your program, right?
Yeah.
There's so many other
Resources.
resources that we have. Connect to someone, find a mentor. I really
Yeah.
think that having a mentor
Yeah.
that you can go to. I still pull a lot of my grandmas. My grandma used to say that. My grandma, like
I do that a lot
always,
too, yeah.
always, and to me, what I would say to my, I would probably, if I would, be a little bit more on enjoying the moment. So if I had something that I would do different, it would be enjoy the moment. You might have a child that is now just, you think like, oh, I don't even know how I'm gonna make it through the day.
Yeah.
Enjoy that moment, because now when I have my baby's 23, I'm like, I wish I go back there.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I can have that baby crying in that dirty diaper. You
Yes.
know, and I'm craving for that in
Yeah.
grandkids,
Yes,
right?
right.
So-
You're like, I will babysit.
but
Bring them
enjoy
in.
the
Yeah.
moment, no matter what it is. There's light at the end of the tunnel. They're gonna grow up. It's not gonna last forever.
Even and you can say
Yeah.
that coming from some really scary
Yeah.
medical issues with kids, and some
Trying
some
times, for
parents
sure.
would say that's like the worst case scenario, you know, the scariest thing, the most feared thing.
Yeah.
And you're saying there's keeping your eyes on the Lord,
Connecting with
all
other
of
moms,
those things,
yeah.
connecting with other moms, and not isolating yourself. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
I think that MOPS was a good, and I remember that, you know, we thought we kind of have, you know, but MOPS was a really strong foundation, at least for me.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, we talked about that last
In
time
the
with,
mentoring episode,
with
yeah.
Ruth and things, and
So-
that was the way we connected and stuff, and any of those moms groups are just so valuable, that to reach out and get that connection, because then you know you're not the only one that's having those sleepless nights, or having those teething moments, or having those episodes that you just don't seem to be able to know what to do with.
And one of the things that I've heard you say several times, we've talked about it with Ruth, who's was one of the mentor moms at MOPS, is if you don't have that, create that.
Yeah.
And you've done
Yes.
that with your Facebook group, with inviting people. Hey,
Yeah.
this changed my life. This changed my marriage. I'm going to sponsor you and encourage you to go do it.
And
I'm
you were
gonna-
always great about that as well. It's like, you know, if someone didn't have an event or things, you made a Valentine's dinner, you made
Yeah,
different things. So you always, again, you know, creating those opportunities to encourage your marriage, encourage your mothering, and things like that. It's been, you've been a blessing to a lot of
Such a-
people, for sure.
Such
But
a
I have
fun
fun with that.
ball of
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
You're just-
I
it's-
actually have fun
Holy
doing
Spirit
that.
fire.
Yeah.
I actually have fun doing that. And I think, again, I'm going to say it again, I think I'm blessed in the process,
Yeah.
you know, when I do that. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's so
So tell us the ages of your 4 grown kids now.
no, I only have one.
Oh,
Grandbaby, I
Oh
only have
no!
one.
Oh,
Your-
grown
your-
up kids.
Oh,
your
grown
grown-up
up
kids.
kids. I
Yes,
heard you
yeah.
say grand.
I only need
We have
one grandchild. I didn't mean to bring
Grown-up
that
kids.
up.
Yes,
I heard you
grown
say grandkids. So Elvin, that just got married, is 35.
Okay.
Kathy's 33. That's a traveler. Rosangela is 26. Hoping to get married soon.
Looks in the camera.
Yeah, 7 years. She has a
goodness.
boyfriend for 7 years. So I'm
We
hoping
haven't had an on-air proposal yet. Maybe that's our next
There you
thing.
go. Yeah.
And then Massimo is 23.
23, the baby.
Yes, and they all have been with me until the moment they went out. Like Elvin literally stayed with us until he was getting married,
Yeah,
35. And when he tried to kind of get away, I kind of talk him into, well, do you know what it takes to really move on your own? And I rate him
She's
the
literally
list.
in real estate talking him out
Yeah,
of moving
so
out.
we
Like,
literally
you need to
talking
stay
out
with
of it.
Mom. You need to stay here with Mom. That's
Yeah.
so cute. Oh my goodness. That's so
Rosangela is still with us, and Massimo as well. So
Yeah.
I'm very
possessive.
selfish mom.
Oh,
No,
I want
it's
them next to me.
encouraging.
I'm gonna build
But-
houses all around. Like,
Yeah.
so
Well,
they'll
it's
move
like
back.
what you said though, like culturally, that
it is.
multi-generational,
Yes, it is.
you know, that this is your support system.
Yeah.
We're here
Yeah.
for each other. We've
Yeah.
got each other's backs, and
Oh, yeah.
I think it's working out great.
Yeah.
I think your system works just as well as me, who's like, really, you need your own apartment. Why can't I stay here? I'm the last kid. I just really think it's better for everyone if you. I'm just kidding.
It is different, and I think that that's the encouragement today, is to just listen about how, you know, every family is different and unique, and how you have definitely cultivated those strengths and qualities in your family and your dynamic, and all the different languages and the different cultures, you know,
the
and
different
just
food.
different foods, you know, you have just
best part.
created that family unit that works for you. And so I think that is actually, I think, a great encouragement for people that, you know, sometimes we do get bogged down in what everybody else is doing, but sometimes just look back at yourselves and see what really works for you as a family.
Yeah, and actually all the culture and like I said, the food and all that, it just kind of, because sometimes I hear people say, oh, you have so much food at your house. It's hard to just pick one, you know, 'cause
Yeah.
Max wants Italian, I want the Spanish, you know, so really it's colorful, you know,
love it.
Yeah.
That sounds
I
great.
love it so much.
Well,
Like
I
a
know that
rainbow.
we could probably talk for a
my
long
goodness,
time,
so
and we
good.
love having you here. And
Yes,
thank you
we've
so
got
much.
so many things to link
Yes,
on
we
here,
do.
so
We do.
all
We will
the good
definitely put a
things.
lot of things in our show notes and
Thank you so
things like
much.
that. But before we end, we always want to leave with our verse for our season, which is from Hebrews 10:24 through 25.
Mm-hmm.
And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching.
Right.
And we just want to leave that with our listeners today for sure.
Yes, as we close, we always want to remind you to be refreshed.
Be encouraged and stay well grounded.